Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, and today we are going to be going ahead and reviewing this Holiday Express train right here. So as you can see, this is the 2025 addition to the Winter Village lineup. It has 4 minifigures, 956 pieces, and it is intended for ages 18 and up. And not only does it have all of those features, it has the first ever retail available 3D printed Lego piece. And this is a real Lego piece, and I will be giving you guys an in-depth look at it, not just in this video, but in a separate video as well. But with that, there's a lot of cover here because I want to show you guys the unboxing experience. I want to show you guys the time lapse of the build. I want to review it for you guys, and I want to put a motor in it and have it run around my layout, and also compare it to some other trains that Lego has made. So there's a lot to talk about, so let's just get started. And so before we open the box, I just want to give you a little bit of a more up-close look at it itself. And so I am in no way, shape, or form sponsored. I paid $130 US for this set here. And again, it comes with 956 pieces, and it is intended for ages 18 and up. And we'll talk about price at the end of the video, but I want to just show you guys all of the details of the box here. And so as you can see on the side here, it has the back of the train, and it has the loop of track that it comes with, and you can see in the top right there that it is 19.5 inches long. So it's pretty small, but it is able to be motorized, as you can see in the bottom right there, and it comes with the 3D printed piece and also the 16 segments of track. So with that, let's take a look at what's inside the box. Okay, so upon opening the box, you can see that there are 6 bags here. I have 2 stacks of 1, 2, 3, and then 4, number 5, and then number 6 right behind it. And then there is 4 sprues of curved track here. Unfortunately, this set does not come with any straight track, but I will be talking about that in depth later. And then there is this. This is the 3D printed piece, and I will show you guys this up close in just a second when we go ahead and review the entire set. But over here has the 2 different instruction manuals. So this has all of the side builds, and then this one looks like it has the whole train itself. So there's a lot to discuss here, and there's a lot to build. So let's go ahead and start that time lapse right now. All right, so this build here did not take that long at all. It maybe took me an hour and a half or maybe 2 hours at most. And so you actually start this from the front of the train and you work your way to the back. So you do all the side builds first, then you do the locomotive, then you do the tender, and then you do the flat car, and you finish it out with the passenger car. And that's a little different from how the other trains in LEGO's recent history have gone. And so with the Orient Express, you started with the base, then you did the passenger coaches, and then you finished off with the tender and then the locomotive. So it's a little bit of a different build, but the build experience was enjoyable and actually pretty charming as well. All right, so with the set fully completed here, as you can see, I have one of the sprues of track opened, and I have the other 3 behind it here still in its sprue. And so there, you do get all 16 segments of track to make a full circle. And something that I want to note before we actually get into the review, that these track pieces are actually new. So if you go ahead and you take this new track piece here and you bring in an old one, again, this one on the right is the old one. It is not included in the set. The one in the left on the sprue is what is included in the set, and it is the new design. So as you can see, it is actually a little bit different under here. From the top, it looks the exact same, which I guess is a good thing. And so the bottom here is a little bit different, and I'm assuming that is just to make it so that it is a little bit easier to connect studs to the bottom of this, which would make those who ballast their track have a lot easier time doing it. So I think that is a win. I have yet to actually try ballasting with these new track pieces here, but I will definitely be reporting back on that at some point in the future. Now, the thing we're going to start with first is the train. That is what you're paying for, so we're going to get all of these side builds out of the way, and we can uncouple this, and then we can go ahead and start to look at just the locomotive here, so we can take the rest of this out of the way. And so the locomotive here is very basic, but I do really like the color scheme on it. I like the dark blue, the bright light blue, and the gold. I think that is a nice touch here, and you'll notice it is a 440 technically. There are 4 leading wheels, there are 4 driving wheels, and I have that in quotes for a reason, which I'll talk about in just a second, and there are 0 trailing wheels. And I think the basic design of the model here looks pretty good, so I'm going to kind of spin it around for you so you can see all of it. And I like the smokestack here, the boiler. I like the roundness of it in the dark blue portion, but unfortunately here it is rather flat, and that is so that they can have this printed curved tile on here where it says Holiday Express. So unfortunately, it is a little flat there, but I guess it's not the end of the world. And then coming around the back here, you can see there is interior details right there for your train driver, which is nice to see. And it's pretty much mirrored on the other side here, so there's not too much to report. And then on the front, there is a couple of flowers and also a headlamp. And so this is pretty much the entire train here. There's not a whole lot to talk about. There is some nice detail on each of the front bogie here on each side of it, and I think it looks pretty good. And then this is actually where the powered up bogie would go, so you can just take this out, and there is instructions at the back of the manual, and I will be modifying this set here in this video to go ahead and power it up. So definitely stay tuned to the end so you don't miss out on that. But there is actually an action feature in this set here. So if you might have already seen it, but if you put some extra pressure on it, because it's on a hard surface, it will actually roll a lot better, and you can actually see the feature in action. Now, if I grab the track here and I bring, if I take all the other stuff off and I bring over this, you can actually see that it works a lot better on track. So you can just push it along and the smokestack goes up and down. And I think it's a really charming feature. I think it's really cool. It is unfortunate that it is so light, so it doesn't, if you don't put any pressure on it, you just kind of push it, it doesn't, that time it kind of worked, but sometimes in my experience before starting this clip, it didn't work that great. So I think definitely pushing down on it or adding some weight to it is definitely the way to go. But thankfully, if you actually just take this whole panel off, this entire middle section is hollow. So if you wanted to, you could add some dimes in there. You can add other little weights like fishing weights or something like that. So there is definitely some room to fix this and kind of make it your own, which is a good thing because there are some other shortcomings like the lack of driving wheels here. Now, these are technically driving wheels because they would be the ones that are powering the train when you actually put the powered up hub in it. But the driving wheels are supposed to look like this here with the flange on them, and they're supposed to be larger. And typically, at least from what I have researched and what I have seen, this arc here that has the name of the train on it is actually supposed to match the arc of the driving wheels, or at least be close to it from my understanding. And so this is, it is still in the bag. I guess I could just open it for you. And this is my own pack here. This is not a part of the set, but this is the size of the driving wheel. And so you can see the size difference there between the small wheel and the big one. So that is a miss, unfortunately. It's such a shame that they didn't add these in. I would have loved to have seen that. And the boiler is so high off of the ground, it feels like, because the wheels are so small. But if you add this in, it just makes a lot more sense, in my opinion. And so this is pretty much the entire train here. And again, I'll show you the interior details, and the roof is removable, so you can get easier access in there, which is good. There's a wrench, a coffee cup here, a lever, and then a dial there, and also a nice little fireplace as well. So that's pretty much everything. There are some more gold accents in here, and that is pretty much that for the locomotive. And everything you see on this is a print. There were no stickers in the set, so this arch or curved tile here is a print. Same with this one, and then that is a print up there for the set number. Unfortunately, this tile was a little askew in the printing. So as you can see, this side here is a lot closer to the top edge of the piece, whereas it is closer to the, it's a lot more straight on this side, whereas this side's a little bit crooked, unfortunately. So that is not ideal, as I can't get this back on. But overall, I think the train is pretty charming in its color scheme and also with the action feature. Next up here is the tender, and so as you can see, this is a very small car. There's not a lot going on here. It is 8 studs wide plus a little bit for the back panel there, but that is pretty much it. So we're gonna go through this relatively quickly, but as you can see, there are 2 axles on the bottom here, and it has a wreath on either side, and it is symmetrical, just like the engine. So there's not really a lot to see on the other side. It's just more of the same. And then there is a spot up here for presents, and so you can go ahead and put these other micro builds, which I will show in just a second. You can put them up here if you want, or you can just have figures hold them, or just leave them on the ground, or something like that. And then inside here is completely hollow, and so you can actually take this whole thing out, and then this is where you would put your battery box or in the actual hub itself that would connect to your controller or your tablet. So this fits in here, and then you just add the other details back on top, and that is pretty much it. Now, the connectors in this set are not the magnetic couplers, and they're not the more realistic couplers that the Orient Express used. Instead, it is this design here, which is essentially this 2x3 modified plate with the Technic hole, the Technic pinhole on one end, and then you just have this assembly a few times over, and then you just attach it to one side and the other. And so it actually works pretty good. It's a very sturdy connection, so your train is not going anywhere once it's connected. But I did notice that the back on multiple segments here, on multiple cars, the back section is stuck in here. And so if you want to take this coupling off, you have to remove some pieces in order to get to that, and you'll see that on one of the other cars as well. But just wanted to point that out. But that is pretty much everything for this car here. There's not a lot to talk about because it is pretty small, but this is also relatively charming. I think it's nice, and I really do like the wreath. It is a very nice detail here. Next up here is the flat car, and this flat car has quite a bit going on with it, and yet it is still pretty small. And so again, as you can see, you have to take the tail off of the polar bear in order to remove this back coupling, but I just wanted to show you guys that. And instead of being on the standard axles like you saw here with the pins and then the wheels can just roll freely, instead the front section here has the black axle, and then this one here has the smaller axles here, and that is for an action feature, which I guess we can just talk about right now. And so if you roll this along the track, the polar bear's head moves and also its arms move back and forth as well, which I think is really cute and it looks really good. The polar bear itself has a teal and dark green scarf on it, which I think is a little bit of an interesting color combination, but it's not bad by any means. And so the section here is a little bit Technic heavy, especially with the linkage going through the center of the body. And so I don't think it's a very Technic intensive set by any means. The most intensive part of the entire set was the head here. It's a very dense build, but it is a very nice build anyways. And then this right here can come off so we can get a better look at the bear. And it has some nice curvature. There's a lot of curved slopes on this thing, and it looks really good. And so the bell here is just made up of a couple of pieces. And the bear's head is cute. I think it looked good, and it is charming, just like the other parts of the set, but I do wish that it had eyes. I think the brick head eyes would have gone over really well with this. But again, that's just me. I will probably be trying that out in the future just to see how that looks. And then this is the box here. This is a box that you would mail, I guess. And then there is space inside, so if you want to throw something in there, you can. Like some mail or something. There is a printed 1x2 tile there for the mail and like the address of where this box is going. And on the top is this really neat scene that is a train track going through a town. And so you can see some houses here, a house here, and then some trees with the nice dark green carrot pieces that is new in this color, I believe. And then the black cone there is actually to put the mini train on the layout. Now, obviously this is oversized compared to the other things on here, but this is a very interesting piece and it will get its own segment of the video. So we'll talk about that in just a second here. But this just rests on these 1x4 jumpers. And then that is pretty much the entire thing there. So this is really cute. It's really charming and it works surprisingly well. But since it doesn't use the standard axles here, it is pretty stiff because of the Technic axles and all of the friction inside. And so the final piece of rolling stock for this set here is the passenger car, and the walls are 8 studs long from front to back, and the entire platform of the thing itself is 10 studs long. So it's very small, it's very shallow, but it does work, and you can actually fit 2 figures in there. And unfortunately, there's no spot for the conductor here to stand, which is the ticket guy to stand. So that's unfortunate, but I do like the foliage details on either corner here, and also the lamps as well, I think are nice. And then you can remove the roof here in order to get easier access to the inside where you can put the 2 figures, 1 in each seat. And then there is a little bit of detail in there with a lamp and also some mugs on the table. And then that is pretty much it. I do really like this roof design. It's smooth, it looks really good, and this bow design here was a really nice build as well. It's very fancy and it looks really good. And then this just rests on the top here, and then that is pretty much it. So there's not a whole lot to talk about. This does use the regular bogie pieces, axle pieces, I should say, train wheel pieces, and so this rolls a lot better. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the side builds right now. Starting off with the biggest side build is this little train station here, and I mean little. When I say little, it is a 6x6 plate on the top and then a 6x8 plate on the bottom. I would have loved for the 6x8 to be white instead of tan. I don't know why it is tan, but I think a white plate would have made it look a lot more immersive, like everything is snow covered, because this is snow covered and the step here is snow covered, but the plate is not. So I don't know what the deal with that is, but there is a little bench here and a little lamp, as you can see, with some foliage on it, and that looks pretty good. And then the slope here is just so you can bring your track over and you can connect this like so. And the reason it's so far out is so that you can have other trains that have longer noses or longer pieces of rolling stock, so you can have it on the outside here, and also you can have it on the inside if you want, and it won't get caught by the various pieces of rolling stock that you might have in your collection. So it is a long slope and the platform is extremely far away, but it does work so that trains can pass by it. So I think that's a necessary compromise, especially since there were no straight tracks included in the set, but I think that it is better than nothing. So I'm happy that they did include a station despite it being so small. So these are the three mini builds here. You have a helicopter, a sailboat, and an excavator. And the helicopter here looks like it is from the Arctic sub-theme from Lego City. So I think that's a nice color combination there, and it looks pretty good. The sailboat here is just a nice build. I think that looks really accurate for the size, and I think it looks really good. And then you can also move the sails if you wanted to, but I don't know what difference that would make. But what can actually move, and what's really interesting, is this excavator. And so the body can rotate and the arm can rotate as well, which is really incredible that they were able to fit play features in a mini build so small. But what's even more interesting is this. This is the very first 3D printed Lego piece that is available in a retail set. And so this is very interesting. I unboxed it, and here is a clip of that. And it just comes as this one blue piece here. And so as you can see, the wheels move and the linkages move, as the coupling rods move with them. And also there is a piece in the smokestack that moves as well. And there are no stud connections on this, but there are some bars and mini peg holes. So I don't know why there is no studs on this. Maybe that's just because of the fact that they can't get the tolerances right for 3D printing. But I think that this is still really neat, and it does roll surprisingly well. It's not great. It actually works better if you just lightly push it along. If you try and force it down, it's gonna just drag. So this is really interesting. I am gonna be making a full dedicated video about this piece because I think it's so cool and it's so interesting. And so definitely make sure that you are subscribed and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss when that video drops. But like it is right now, it is made up of a couple of extra pieces in order to make the train complete. So there is this piece right here, which is a gold stud with a clip on the bottom of it, a plume piece that you would typically find on a pirate hat, and then on the back here is a red 2x2 slope on two sides, and under that is the same gold piece there that has the stud on the top and the clip on the bottom. So that's how that red slope is connected in there, and it's pretty secure in there. It's not going to rotate back on top of the bar that's on the back of the 3D printed piece, but I think it's a really neat thing anyways. And so now let's take a look at the minifigures. So here are the 4 figures included in the set, and so you have 2 patrons on the left, the ticket master on the middle right there, and then on the right is the train driver himself. And so to my understanding, all 4 of these torso prints are new, which is really cool to see. I'm happy that they did that. And there is only one alternate face here with the lady here, and as she falls over, and then the backs of the prints here are actually really nice as well. And my favorite figure of the set here is actually the train driver. I'm just removing the scarf for you so you can see what that looks like there. And so this is the front of the torso, and the dark blue overalls look so good with the stitching. And then the pen and the papers in the pocket as well. And then he even looks like he has a sweater underneath the shirt there, right at the top of the collar. And then the back print of the overalls looks really good as well. And also, I completely forgot there are 2 alternate faces in the set. The guy passenger also has an alternate face, so there are 2 alternate faces in the set here. Now, thankfully, LEGO did take the time to include instructions on how to motorize the model here. So what you're going to need is the powered up hub and also the powered up motor. Now, the controller is optional, but that just means you won't have to use the app when running your train, which I much prefer using the physical controller, because also when you close the app, the train stops. So I like this. You can set the speed you want, and then you can just kind of let it go. And so that is pretty much it. So we're going to just follow the instructions here. It is going to be fairly simple. So it's actually not that hard to add the motor and battery box into the set here. It's fairly straightforward. They did include instructions, thankfully, at the back of the second manual. So it's pretty simple to just take the components out and then add the electronic components in. And that is pretty much it. So now that the components are in, it's fairly straightforward. So let's go ahead and put this on the layout and see how it runs. All right, so I have the train on the track now, so you can see the engine, the tender, the flat car, and the passenger car, and I have it hooked up to the controller, and so we can go ahead and we can start to, I was going to say run the train, but it's actually not going anywhere. Okay, so that is interesting. I am probably going to go in, and I don't really know what the problem is. I'm going to try and check all the wheels and make sure that they're all good to go, and then I guess we can try this again. But this is not a great first impression of how it runs. So let me go ahead, let me try and fix that, and I'll show you guys if that fixes anything. All right, so I went ahead and I checked all of the wheels, and so they seem to be working just fine. They spin freely enough, and there's nothing on the wheels or on the rails. Let me try this again here. And it looks like it's having the same problem. If you just pick this up, the motor runs perfectly fine, and it's not like the batteries are dying or anything. So I don't know what the problem is here. If you just kind of let it go, if you give it some speed. Oh, there it goes. Now it wants to run. Okay. Maybe that was just all it needed. I don't know. That was a really interesting thing there, though. That is definitely not what I was expecting, especially from a train that's designed to be motorized. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below if you bought this set and if you also have the same issues with it. It seems to be running now, so I'm going to let it go for a few minutes here. I'm also going to get some B-roll of it. I'll show you guys that in just a second here when I stop talking. And then we can talk about the final value and my thoughts as a whole. So let me go ahead, let me grab that B-roll for you, and I'll show you guys that. And then I'll meet you back over at the build table, and we can have our final thoughts. These are the extra pieces here, and as you can see, there's a lot of gold and also some red and a little bit of foliage as well, which is always nice to see. And there were no stickers for this set, which is always a good thing. All right, so now that we have gone through, we've talked about the unboxing experience. I showed you guys the time-lapse build, and I showed you guys an in-depth review of the model, as well as going through and how to motorize it, and also what it looks like when it actually runs around a layout. Now we can actually talk about the price and the value of this set here. This is not the first Winter Village train that LEGO has made. They've actually made one other, and I only say one other because at the time when they had made the original one, which I'll put on the screen, I don't think they had the Winter Village line yet, so I think it was just a holiday train. But the Winter Village train that was made previously was held in such a high regard, and so the prices of it online were pretty high. And this one did not meet a lot of people's expectations for a couple of reasons, namely the lack of driving wheels and also the fact that it's so small. But I think the main reason that people aren't a fan of this is because of the price. Now, this is 130 US dollars, and you can do the conversions from there. And I paid that 130 US dollar price tag. I am not sponsored in any way, shape, or form, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Now, is a 30% price increase from last year's Winter Village set to this one a lot? Yes, 100%. That is a lot of money to go from 100 US dollars for a Winter Village set that has been $100 for years and years to go to 130 with this. However, $130 for what is in front of me right now is not the worst deal in the world. And so what I mean by that is fairly straightforward. If you took that 2016 Winter Village train when it retailed for 100 US dollars back in October of 2016 when it was first revealed, and you brought that to 2025 with the time machine and you put that on a shelf next to this, adjusted for inflation, it would be $134. So technically, this is cheaper by a couple of dollars. Now, I understand that that one had some of the things that this does not, but overall, I don't think that this is a terrible value. It is just a shock that you're getting a $30 price increase for what seems like the same thing, but they've kept the price the same for so long that it's almost a matter of time before they go ahead and make that price increase. And so with the fact that it's a train and the amount of specialized pieces in here, like all of the tracks and all of the wheels and other things like that, I'm not totally surprised by this. And so going away from the price for a second, just kind of looking at what I like about the set, I really like the color scheme. I really like that. I like the dark blue and the bright light blue and the gold. I think it's something different. And it's also not, it doesn't scream it's a holiday train to you. And so you can use this year round. Now, obviously it has Holiday Express printed on it, and it has a bow on the top of the passenger car and a couple other things, but those are easily fixable. You can just easily remove the entire thing here and replace these curved tiles with something else. So there is definitely some use for this year round. It's not a diehard winter train that you can only use for 30 days out of the year, and then that's it. So I think this is cool. I think this is really a neat train, and I do really like the color scheme, and I like what's here. I like the polar bear, and I like the different action features on this. It's kind of charming, actually, having this go down, up and down. I thought it would be kind of a gimmick, but having the polar bear move as well, I think is really cool. And the passenger car here, while it is simple, it gets the point across, and it does its job perfectly fine. And so I can't actually complain about that. The side builds here are a little lackluster. This is very small, but again, I would rather have it as opposed to not having it at all. So I can't really complain about the size of it too much. And then the little side builds here are just excellent. I think they are really cool. And the 3D printed piece, I think, is really something that is interesting. I think it's really cool, and I'm glad LEGO is taking risks and trying things that they probably wouldn't have done 5 or 10 years ago. Now, is LEGO going to be going with all 3D printed pieces in the future? No, I seriously doubt that. They are the main contenders when it goes to injection molding things. There are a lot of other third-party brands out there, but the concept of injection molding I don't think is going anywhere, even with this 3D printed piece. And so with that, my downsides to the set here, I think it could have done with one more minifigure. 4 of them is perfectly fine because you have the train driver, and then there's only 2 seats here, and then there's barely a spot for the conductor here, or the ticket master, and so there is not a lot of room on this train for another figure, but I would have loved to have seen one more, especially a kid. Not that adults can't get toys. I mean, I'm making this video right now, but I would have loved to have seen a child in the set just to have a little bit of diversity in terms of age there. I think that would have been a nice touch. And the fact that there is no space to add other minifigures is kind of upsetting. I really like the concept of this. I just wish there was more of it, especially the passenger car here. And then the other stuff is so small that you're just getting the bare minimum. And I understand why that is. It's to save on pieces, which saves on cost, and it just gets the job done in a more efficient manner, because this could have been 8 studs wide and it could have been twice as long, but at the end of the day, it wouldn't have done much more than just sit a couple of minifigs. So I understand why they made the choices like this, but unfortunately, this is not a great runner, as you saw in the footage just a few minutes ago. This thing does not run great. I even tried putting dimes in the locomotive itself just to try and weigh down the motor a little bit just to see if that would help. And unfortunately, it did a little bit, but it's not enough to really make a noticeable difference. And so that was really unfortunate. I had seen online that this wasn't the greatest runner I had ever seen, but I motorized the Orient Express, which you're not even officially supposed to do. They don't give official instructions for that. And that ran better and more consistently than this. So I don't really know how to kind of judge this, because I really like it and I think it's really charming, but it is severely flawed, unfortunately. And so I will be modifying this to make it better, and so that it runs better, and I think it looks better as well, because while I like what's here, it just needs a little bit more. So definitely make sure that you are subscribed and you turn on the notification bell so you don't miss when those modifications drop, because as soon as this video ends, I'm going to be starting that one, and hopefully I can get that out to you guys pretty soon. But unfortunately, this is not the best runner. Now, here is a couple of size comparisons for you for this compared to some other trains. Again, the box says it is 19.5 inches long, and the 2010 Hogwarts Express, I have not modified the length of it in any way. I've modified a couple of interior details, but the exterior is the exact same, and it is longer, just as long, if not longer than this. So that is pretty interesting. And also you can see the Horizon Express here, the Orient Express, and a couple of other trains thrown throughout here as well. And so that is pretty much it. I don't really have much else to say. It is severely flawed, like I talked about, with its running ability, but I do think that what is here looks good. And so if you're going to have this running around your Christmas tree or around a layout or something, I highly recommend modifying this, or at the very least adding a bunch of stuff into the hollow spaces of this to try and weigh it down. Fishing weights would probably work better than dimes, but dimes are just what I have. So that's what I tried, and it didn't work out all that great. So if you guys have any other things that you tried, let me know in the comments down below. And also let me know if you did buy this and if you have those same issues. That would be greatly appreciated, because from what I've seen online, other people's trains do run. It's just kind of haphazard. Mine barely even starts. So I don't know if it's just a me thing. I don't know if it's a universal thing either. So again, let me know in the comments down below. But that is almost everything that I wanted to touch on. I did also talk about the axles, and I'm not a huge fan of those. I would rather have the regular ones, like on the tender and also the passenger car. I prefer those as opposed to the actual Technic axles with the wheels on them. But I understand why they need those, so that they can make the action features happen. And the action features are charming. They're cute, and I actually really like them. So I can't complain about that all that too much. I would have loved to have seen some straight track as well, but again, the more you add, the more the price is going to go up. One other thing that I wanted to talk about other than the price is actually the other components. And so in order to make this run, you need the hub and also the motor. And if you want to have it run freely, you need the controller as well. You can use the app on your phone or your tablet, but if you close the app to take a call, or if you want to turn your phone off, or if you want to film it like I do, it just completely stops the train when you close the app. So that's unfortunate. And so the controller is kind of necessary. At the time of recording this, the controller is out of stock in the US website for Lego. And then the motor here, I believe, is full price at the moment, as well as the hub. But last year for Black Friday, they put them on clearance or severe discount. So I got them for 30% off each. So that is pretty much that. But if you wanted to pay full price for everything that you see right now, it would be $130 for the set plus $50 for the hub, and I believe it's $14 for the motor. So it's kind of steep to get this to $194. That is a lot of money. But with the discounts that I had talked about, if you're willing to wait for a sale from Black Friday or something, you could get the components down to, with the set included, maybe about $160 or $170. So there is some merit to waiting. Obviously, I don't think this is something that you need to rush out and buy day one. It is still the beginning of October. So if you were looking to add this to your Winter Village display or have it go around your tree or something like that, you still have time to pick it up. And with Prime Days right around the corner and Black Friday as well, I'm sure Lego is going to be having a bunch of sales and double points promotions. So that is definitely going to be the time to pick this up. So that is pretty much everything I think I wanted to talk about here. I talked about the train. I talked about it running, which is unfortunately is not that great. I talked about the motor and the additions that you need to pay for in order to get this to run. But I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for watching. I know this video is probably a little bit longer than some of the videos that I've done recently, but I wanted to give you guys a full in-depth review. It's not often we get trains from Lego, so I wanted to go ahead and get this out for you guys as quick as I can. And again, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if this was informative or at least entertaining to you, and so you don't miss out on when the modification video for this drops. If you guys have any feedback for me on anything specific you want me to modify, drop your comments down below to let me know. And once again, seriously, thank you guys so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye for now.